Hey everyone, welcome back to Stag voiceover. My name is Neil Glasgow. In today's video, I'm going to go over 11 hints and tips for setting up your first home studio. So, let's get into it. Tip number 1, I want to talk about finding the quietest place that you can to record. So before you go out and buy a professional home booth or get any equipment, you need to find out if you've got access to a quiet space to record. Now, this could be a cupboard, it could be a shed, a garage, whatever it is, as long as you can regularly record in there and treat that space correctly, then you know that you've got the foundations to actually get into voiceover. That's easy for me to say in my professional home studio, but the reality is I didn't start in a professional home studio. I started in essentially a pillow fort. So the first thing that you need to look at beyond finding the space is what you can actually put in there. I had a mattress on one side of me, I had insulation board on the right hand side of me, and I covered myself in blankets and pillows and sheets and towels and anything else that I could find to dampen my sound. And that's essentially what you're looking to do. So in the space that you find to record in, it's about dampening the sound. So if you look at this stuff here, you can get it on Amazon. It's called acoustic treatment foam. It's relatively cheap. What it does is it deflects your voice. So if you're ever in your kitchen, your bathroom, and you can hear that echo, that reverberation comes from the flat, hard surfaces that are in that space. So in here, with the foam and particularly with the angular nature of it, it disperses my voice and it dampens it down. So it doesn't have a direct place to reflect from and all those reflections going into the mic, which is what you're trying to avoid. So a good place to start if you don't have a spare mattress, if you don't have spare duvets or you don't want to set that up every single time, is a cupboard, a closet, depends on where in the world you're watching this video. Somewhere that you have hanging clothes. And I know lots of people who that's what their home studio is. They put their mic and their setup in a cupboard, in a closet, cover themselves in clothes, and that creates a nice dampening sound, dampening effect onto their voice because the clothes will absorb that. So tip number 1, find a quiet place that you can record in. Tip number 2, turn off all internal noise. So what we're talking about here is the TV, the radio, the dishwasher, the kids. Turn the kids off. They're just noisy beings anyway. What you don't want to do is spend all that time creating the perfect recording space only to have it destroyed by Peppa Pig. So eliminate all the internal sounds that you possibly can. Record at the best time that you possibly can. I get it that it's not always feasible to dampen that sound all day long. So you might have to work your schedule to record when you can record. I know people that are recording at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night because that's the quietest time in the house that they can actually do that. So understand what your particular recording schedule is going to be and work to that. Tip number 3, record your voice, not the room. So the good rule of thumb is essentially keep between 6 and 12 inches away from the mic at all times. To give you an example, this is me pretty much perfect distance away from where I should be. If I move over here or over here, you can see, or even over here, you can see how that changes my sound going into the microphone. So you want to record what's coming out of your voice rather than the ambient that's going to be in the room. So 6 to 12 inches or a good aloha, that's not appropriation, good finger to thumb width apart, mouth to the microphone. Some people have it a little bit off centre because what you want to try and avoid is what's called a plosive. A plosive is essentially those P sounds, the B sounds, the p, 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 p. That's what you're trying to avoid. Now your pop filter, which I'll come on to in a moment, will help with that quite a lot. This mic has a pop filter already built into it. So definitely something to be conscious of. As I say, record your sound, not the space. Tip number 4. If your laptop or computer makes noise, do what you can to eliminate it or minimise it. Now, I use a laptop for my recordings. That's going straight into the recording right now, or rather the recording's going straight into my laptop right now. And when my laptop's plugged in, the fan makes a lot of noise. Now, there are programs out there that you can install into your laptop. I use one called FanSpeed, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. Now, FanSpeed works. I'm not endorsing them. I just use them. I'm just letting you know. It does work. It helps to control the fan speed, but the easiest way to do this is make sure that your laptop is charged before you take it into your booth. The noise from your laptop will always get into the mic. You really want to avoid it, because what it sounds like is just air blowing over your recording, and the client isn't going to be interested in it. If you're sending an audition in, they think that that's what your sound quality is going to be going forward, and they're not going to engage with you. So where possible, eliminate that sound. If you have a hard drive, desktop, if you have a desktop, then what you want to do is get a HDMI cable or a VGA link, whatever that might be, connect it to a monitor and have your desktop in a separate area where, again, the noise is minimized. All you need is to be able to see the screen and operate the system. You don't need the hardware inside with you. If you have a laptop, obviously you're going to have that in the booth. Eliminate it as much as you possibly can. Number 5, sound treatment. Now, talked a little bit about acoustic foam. What you can also look at is different types of insulation. Now, there's lots of things out there in the market. You can find them from sound studios, you can find them from Amazon, eBay. Do your research, find out what works for your particular sound, for your particular booth, and get the right one for you. Now, there are lots of reviews out there. I use this acoustic foam on my booth because it works for my sound. I've seen much thicker, much bigger acoustic foam for people who have bigger, boominger voices. Boominger? That's a word, definitely. Have a look, do your research, find out what acoustic treatment you have. Now, do not fall into the trap of soundproof. You're not going to get soundproofing. Soundproofing exists, and it's ridiculously expensive, prohibitively expensive. We're talking thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds on soundproofing. You don't need soundproofing to do this job. This is a professional, costly sound booth. It is acoustically treated. It dampens a significant amount of sound, but if my other half has music on downstairs, perhaps, I can hear the bass, I can hear the beat. It's good for a boogie, not good for voiceover. So look into your acoustic treatment, and if you don't want to get acoustic treatment to start off with, again, blankets, pillows, moving blankets, those heavy duty ones that you use when you move, they're really good because they're thick, heavy fabrics that will absorb the sound that's in the room. So tip number 6 is a pop filter. Now, talked about that a little bit earlier with my mic. This is a Lewitt 540S, and it has a really funky built-in pop filter. But what you're going to be looking at is something a little bit more like this. Now, this is just a standard pop filter. It's a fabric pop filter, and this will connect here to your microphone stand. And the idea behind a pop filter is that it disperses the plosive sounds that come out your mouth. So the P's, the B's, that p sound. It takes that air and essentially shoves it down, diverts it right down so it doesn't get into the mic. And it's a really funky bit of technology. I mean, it doesn't look particularly technical, but it works. And they're an absolute must if you're going to do professional voiceover sounds. The worst thing that you can do, or the last thing that you want to do, is have a really good take. You think it sounds amazing, and actually the recording that you're using, or the recording that's going to the client, just sounds terrible, because whenever you use a P or a B or anything that has that breathy element to it, it just sounds terrible, and it sounds awful in the ears, and the client just isn't going to want to use it. So these aren't particularly expensive. You can pick them up for anywhere between sort of 40 and 90 pounds. It depends what you go for. I mean, some of them can get up there, particularly the branded ones that go with the higher end mics. Some of them have standardized attachments that go with them, much like this. This has a pop filter and it came with it. I'd highly recommend you have to get a pop filter if you're going to be a pro voiceover artist. Tip number 7 is use a proper voiceover microphone. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video and I'll put a link to that as well. You don't want to be recording on your iPhone or just on a regular camera. The sound quality that comes out of it is noticeable. So what you want is, if you're starting out, is maybe something a bit like this. This is a Toner Q9. It's a relatively cheap mic and actually comes with a stand, comes with a pop filter. I think you can get them on Amazon for £60, £70, something along those lines. They're okay if you're starting out. I'm not going to give them a massive review. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. But as a starter mic, you could do worse. Now, this is a USB mic. And most people in voiceovers will tell you to avoid USB mics, but I'm not going to do that. And the reason I'm not going to do that is not because this is an amazing mic. It's fine. I've done some jobs on it. It works absolutely fine for its needs. But as a professional, as you get into this a lot more and you're able to afford a more expensive mic, you should, because the sound quality that comes out of it is a lot richer. But if you're just starting out and you're just practicing and you don't want to invest the hundreds, if not thousands of pounds into voiceover yet, then this is a decent sound, a decent mic that you can actually go with. Now, the reason that people tend to not use USB mics is because everything that makes this work is in here. And that sounds like a really great thing. But what this does is it actually creates noise that you probably won't hear. But because the microphone is in here, all the electrics are in here, everything is in here, that mic inside picks that up and there'll be a low level buzz, hum, whatever you want to describe it as, that is going to be picked up in your recordings. Now, you can scrub this, you can remove it from your recording afterwards, but you'll never be able to do that without affecting some of your audio. So I would recommend, if you're just starting out, you'll see a USB mic, find one with good reviews. As I say, this is Toner Q9, comes with a pop filter, comes with a stand. It's worth it if you're just starting out and just figuring out if you want to get into voiceover. This is a really good mic for podcasting, that sort of thing. But for quality voiceovers, you need to really invest in something a little bit more high end. But that is my point number 7. Point number 7. Get a decent mic when you can. But there's nothing wrong with starting off with something like this. Tip number 8. Get a mic stand. Now, my mic stand is attached to my booth, and essentially it holds my mic. That's what it's there for. A lot of mic stands will have a cage that your microphone will sit in, and that's essentially to stop any noise. If you jar it, apologies for this, if I just tap this here, if you jostle your mic, that's your mic stand, that's going to go into your recording. So your mic stand is there to be able to hold your mic in a position that is comfortable for you to be able to talk in for a long period of time, to be able to get the sound into the mic that you need. If you have it too far, if you keep jostling it, if it's not in the right space, it's really going to affect your sound. So long term, again, for a professional look, you need to get a mic stand. Whether that's something that's very small, that the mic just sits in, or you get a little bit more of a professional mic arm, definitely worth that investment. And again, not particularly expensive. Tip number 9 is get a preamp. If you get a higher end microphone, a preamp is what you use to get your mic to talk to your laptop or your computer. The preamp is what translates the sound from the mic into your digital audio workstation, and it is pivotal. It helps you to create the right levels, it helps you to create the right sound, and it helps you with your editing and mixing. But its job, by and large, is just taking the information from your mic to your DAW. So if you get a mic that's not USB, you're absolutely going to need a preamp. And if you have any questions as to what preamp to get, ask me in the comments section below. I'll recommend some ones that I think might work for your budget and for your sound. Tip number 10, editing software. Now, I've talked a lot about things that you're going to have to buy. Editing software isn't necessarily one of those things. There are lots of different, really high quality editing softwares on the market today. Anything from Audacity to Adobe Audition. Now, I personally use a software called Reaper. Reaper is primarily used for music recording, but actually it's really great as a DAW for voiceover. It's very, very customizable. And the person who designed it has an extensive library of online videos that you can watch to educate yourself. Refer to my previous video, educate yourself into how to do this, particularly in 2020 where you can't access, or at least in the UK at the moment, you can't access professional studios to get your recordings done, to get your demos done, to do your auditions, whatever it is. So you're going to need to understand your DAW as much as you possibly can to do your auditions and to create your professional demo. I use Reaper. Use the tool that is best suited for you. Do your research, understand what is available in the market, and then really, really, really understand the capabilities of that DAW. You need to invest the time and you need to learn. Tip number 11, and possibly the most important tip of this video, is don't use any effects on your voiceover until you know what you're doing. And I mean really know what you're doing. There are lots of videos out there that talk about compression, EQ. Until you know what you're doing, I promise you're just going to make your sound worse. And the reality is, nearly every client I've ever worked with has actually said that they don't want me to do anything with my voice. They want what's called a dry file, so unedited, or rather unmessed with. The only thing that you should really be looking at is removing breaths, removing clicks, which are the wet sounds that you get in your voice when you record. And I'll do another video on how to eliminate that from your sound. Don't use effects on your voice unless specifically asked for. Don't put music on your auditions. Don't put music on your professional demo unless it's actual work that's been paid for by a client and you've taken a sample of that work. That's fine, because what the client looks at is that real? Does it sound professionally recorded? Does it sound up to a high enough quality? And are you trying to hide something in your voice? The client is listening for your sound and wants your sound for their projects. They're not looking for that music bed. So absolutely 100%, a million %, not a thing. Do not use effects. Do not use compression. Do not use EQ on your files. I promise you, promise, it will work out for you significantly better in the long run. Okay guys, that's it for this video. I hope you found it informative. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at crownstag_voice. Leave me a comment. I will respond to all comments as they come in. If you've got a question, if I know the answer, I'll give it to you. And if I don't, hey, let's find out together. You can absolutely be a voiceover artist. See you in the next video.